Hello everybody, this is Gareth Cahoon Speaks back here with another video. I'd like you to hit the subscribe bar, give me a thumbs up if you like the video, or hit the notification bell to be notified when I post my next post. Or otherwise you could donate to my ministry and the charities that I support at garethcahoon3@gmail.com on PayPal. This one here is about a parasitic outbreak grows to more than 1,000 cases. Similar illnesses investigated in 28 states. New York, nearly 1,000 people in Michigan have been diagnosed with a parasitic infection that can cause weeks of watery diarrhea, making it the largest such outbreak in state history and one of the nation's largest in years. No deaths have been reported, and the source of cyclospora infections has been identified. Meanwhile, investigators into similar illnesses have been going on in 28 other states, including in Ohio, where people just across the Michigan border are also becoming sick. Michigan officials first announced the outbreak last week when they were aware of more than 170 cases, all in the southeastern corner of the state. Since June 22nd, Michigan usually identifies only about 50 cases each year. On Wednesday, the state reported the number had grown to 992, including about 40 hospitalizations. Just across the state line, Lucas County, Ohio reported 306 cases as of Wednesday. Northwest Ohio has seen more than 500 cases. Cyclospora surges can be tricky to investigate, and food poisoning sources can be hard to establish, but there is clearly a linked outbreak happening right now. Dr. Natasha Bogardson, Michigan's chief medical executive, told the Associated Press on Wednesday, "Here's what to know about the current situation. Cyclospora is a microscopic spherical parasite that commonly causes watery diarrhea with frequent and sometimes explosive bowel movements. According to the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the illness, called Cyclospora aureus, is not usually life-threatening and is typically treated with antibiotics. Outbreaks tend to occur most often in late spring and summer. The heat-loving parasite infects the bowels and spreads through feces. In the past, people have been infected by consuming fruits or vegetables. They were exposed to feces contaminated irrigation water. It's less common than a number of other kinds of foodborne illnesses, including Salmonella and E. coli. For years, few US cyclospora outbreaks were reported each year, but the number started rising about a decade ago, with a particularly notable spike in 2018 and 2019. Experts attribute the increases to climate change and better detection. Of course, climate change would get the blame, wouldn't it? Comprehensive data on cyclospora outbreaks is lacking, but available information shows only a small number of documented outbreaks in the last 20 years have surpassed 1,000 cases. That short list include a 1997 outbreak tied to the Guatemalan raspberries that sickened more than 1,000 people in the United States and Canada, and a 2019 outbreak linked to Mexican basil, and and that sickened more than 2,400. There are several reasons it's challenging to know the exact toll, said Melanie Firestone, a University of Minnesota foodborne illness researcher. Some tests used to check for types of food poisoning are not geared to detect cyclospora, so there is a lot of underreporting when it comes to this, she said. Other challenges: technicians aren't able to grow the parasite in labs, making it hard to draw evidence for contaminated produce, and it can be hard to figure out what food sick people had in common because sometimes it's a single ingredient that might be common in multiple recipes like basil or cilantro. Also, it's possible that the food distributors may channel contaminated foods to both grocery stores and restaurants, making it hard to discern where tainted food came from. Investigations can take months and sometimes never find a clear source. Cases seem to be surging in and around southeastern Michigan, but it's not considered a national health emergency. There's no evidence that the parasite has evolved to become more infectious, said Diana Blue, the CDC's acting parasitic disease branch chief. Thousands of cyclospore illnesses are reported in the US each year, and it's not yet clear how unusual this year will be. She added that said, the case total so far is 4 times higher than at the same point last year, according to the current CDC national database, which lags dramatically from what's being reported by the states. Michigan appears to be suffering the worst of it, but the state's aggressiveness in investigating and reporting cases may be part of the reason why this looks like a Michigan problem. But Godarsian said, people who have had diarrhea that hasn't gone away on its own within a few days should see a health provider and discuss the possibility of cyclospora. Officials said the best way to prevent infection with a parasite is to avoid food or water that may have been contaminated. Fresh produce should be thoroughly washed before being eaten, but be aware that cyclospora can really stick to some foods, so washing may not eliminate the risk of infection. As Michigan officials investigate the potential source, they recommend consumers purchase whole heads of lettuce rather than pre-washed bagged lettuce or salad mixes, and to remove the outer 2 to 3 leaves before washing, then remaining leaves under running water. They also say to cook vegetables when possible. This is another outbreak in America. What seems to be happening here is there was a tick-borne disease too that I reported on it that's rising in America at the moment, and it's making people very sick, and this cyclospora seems to be a nasty bugger to get rid of. So be careful if you're in America. I would avoid vegetables altogether because it's the only way that you can avoid being struck down with this illness. Shalom, Maranatha, and Hallelujah.